Assalamu alaikum ji. Matthew Hayden, batting consultant for Pakistan cricket team, is along with us, and we will start with the opening statement of Matthew. How is he previewing the mega event, global event, and how the things are going on? Matthew will start the opening statement, and then we will move on to the question answer center. Matthew, go on.
Hello, everyone. It's a great honour and a great privilege to be sharing my cricket knowledge and sharing the rooms of Pakistan. I must confess that I never would have ever thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be sitting inside the Pakistan dressing room. All the great battles over the years that we've had as nations, and long may they continue with the blessings. The mood is high. The relationships within the team are strong. Players seem very happy, very relaxed, in spite of the obvious pressures, in particular, the pressures starting with our first match. The camp is strong and solid and feels good, and it's a great privilege to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Shahid Hashmi, can you ask the question first, and then Majid Bhatti, please.
Matthew, you have been part of Ashes, one of the greatest rivalries in the cricketing world. How would you compare this rivalry between India and Pakistan and the Ashes, and the kind of pressure it brings on the players on both sides?
True and accurate comment that for Australia, it's England as the old guard, as they would say. I mean, you could argue that England versus anyone, considering that at various stages we've been ruled by the kingdom of the UK, and cricket wouldn't be on our shores if it hadn't been for that. But nothing also that I've ever seen throughout various elements of the game that I've been a part of ever matches the rivalry between India and Pakistan. And so, yes, there is an obvious pressure, as there is an obvious pressure playing against England if you're an Australian. The pressure, though, is only as much as what you allow it to be. And all that can be done is done. Your preparation is there. Your experience is there. Your opportunity now becomes a history-making opportunity. We can present all the stats. We can do all of our homework and research, but nothing can replace what will be the stat that we all write about, that we all dream about, that we all coach about or commentate on, which will be the event itself. So I sense that our players are ready for that opportunity, and I sense that there is a calmness around our group that warrants us to be a successful competitor on the day. So all that is done, and now it's just the opportunity of playing the game.
Majid bhai, आप question कर लें और kindly Shahid bhai and Majid bhai पे mic.
Matthew, this is your 3-4 weeks contract with the Pakistan cricket team. In this cricketing world, no one coach make difference in 3-4 weeks. Are you interested to deal with the Pakistan cricket team, and you want a long-term contract, or you have already your prior commitments with your commentary assignments?
Yeah, thanks, Majid. In my life, I've never thought too much ahead. I know that seems strange, because from a cricketing point of view, I never felt like I was first selected. My wife and I would often talk about what we're going to do on the next tour, but we'd never look at 3, 4, 5 tours and expect to be playing.
Excuse me, Matthew, please hold on. Majid bhai, kindly अपना mic mute कर ले. Go on.
Okay.
Thanks, Majid. Thank you. Yeah, so I have a lot of hats on at any one given time. I've got this one on today. Muji, your phone's still on. You just please silence your phone. Yes, sorry. So long term, I don't have an answer. Short term, I also don't have an answer. But what my point was is that I do have the answer for right now and how I'm feeling right now, and what I can contribute in a small space of time, which I'm excited about. I'm looking forward to. And I felt like I've made some really lovely connections with the boys and the group in general. And I'm excited about growing that potential and that opportunity. And that if that leads with wisdom to other potential engagements, then that will be considered at the time. Right now, though, we have a World Cup to win. And right now we have the first game of the tournament to also win. So my heart will be focused on that, not the future. If I can make one comment though about the broader context of the game, and that is that no matter how I'm involved in the game, I feel incredibly blessed to have had the opportunities to see the game from all levels, either as an administrator, as a coach, as a player, as a father, to two boys who love the game, as a brother and as a son. So it's a complete cycle of life that's just given me so much joy and pleasure, and I'm so excited whether I've got a mic in my hand, commentating on various tournaments across the world, which I've done post my cricketing career. To be able to narrate our great game is one of the great privileges and pleasures and opportunities that I get daily, even in spite of retiring fully since 2011. So I do feel incredibly humbled and incredibly blessed. But the future, I have no idea. and anyone who tells you that they know their future is not telling the truth, because let's face it, who really does know?
Thank you. So Yaqub Saab and Yusuf Anjum, please.
Hayden, Mr. Hayden, how much chances you are seeing about Pakistan victory against India, especially after watching the warm matches of both the teams?
Yes, I think closely I've been watching Indian cricket for some time. As I've just mentioned, I've more or less watched KL Rahul, for example, who's a major threat to Pakistan, grow up as a boy, seeing his struggles with test matches versus his dominance in the shorter formats of the game. Seeing someone like Rishabh Pant with his cheeky smile and his brash nature and his beautiful vision for the game, watching how he's destroyed bowling attacks because he's got that opportunity and sees it that way. So yes, I think individually, I think it's always fantastic to see how players perform in a pressure match, and this camp has got some wonderful assets that will perform on the day, that are ready to perform on the day. If you look at the way that Evan Fakhar has gone about his preparations for this match, not to single him out, but to look at the way that he has extended himself in the two warm-up matches, it's exciting to think that can happen, come a few days' time versus India. Baba too, and Rizwan, the top three, I think are, such a critical part of performance here in the UAE. Generally speaking, when the power plays have been, such a significant part of T20 cricket in the UAE, and There have been a few exceptions, but most sides that win the power play win the match. And you don't necessarily win the power play by being overly aggressive. So I think that we have a very strong batting combination, including Hafiz as well, inside that knowledge and that wisdom and that ability to be able to build and create opportunities at the top of the order is certainly, from a batting sense, our strength. Big totals here are never going to be achieved. You know, the 200 plus totals, I feel, are going to be, it would take something extraordinary on the day for that to happen. So average scores roughly, you know, Sharjah 170, Abu Dhabi 170, Sharjah 150, and here in Dubai, that 170 potentially is kind of like what we're looking at. So we're not talking about 10s and over from the start of play. So I do think that we've got a very, very balanced and strong batting lineup.
How you see the role of Babar Azam and Shaheen Afridi in this World Cup?
Key roles. We saw last night, Shaheen Afridi bowled the penultimate over in T20 cricket. He bowled the 19th over, and he got hit for 2 4s. One was a streaky 4. You know, it was a slog shot that got an inside edge and beat Rizwan. And I think it went for 8 or 9 over, but it was a very, very strong performance. So that 19th over in T20 cricket and the 20th over is such a key part of the bowling unit. And Bubba obviously, you know, has his own role to play, not only in terms of leadership, because as you've seen through the IPL, the 2 dominant captains here in the UAE, MS Dhoni, World Cup winner, and Owen Morgan, World Cup winner, even though their individual performances weren't as good as what they have previously done within their own statistical record, but the way that they led their troops and conducted themselves is an important part of the UAE, because, as I mentioned, it's not, one side's not necessarily going to run away with it here. It's a real dogfight. The conditions and the margins for errors are very little, and so good leadership is going to be key. And I think Bubba has that commands that presence, and he commands that role, and he needs to fulfill that role. On a batting sense as well, he I think is the premium player. He will be targeted. He will also be the person that everyone is wanting to as Christopher Gale says, put in his pocket. And so, yes, there's going to be additional pressure on him, both as a captain and also as a batsman. But I sense that the way that he goes about it is going to be spot on.
Last full question for last 4 minutes. Atik Bhai and Qadir Khwaja first.
No, Ibrahim, thank you. Already same question.
Thank you. Qadir Khwaja, please go on.
Matthew, don't you think that power hitting is an overhyped term when it comes to slow pitches like UAE?
Yes. Yes, I do. If you were to take the average strike rate across the UAE, most sides would be very similar in that way. Most sides start relatively conservatively with the bat and build through to that 6th over, trying not to have 3-4 wickets down, trying to minimize the damage to the batting assets. Power hitting, though, is also an important element of T20 cricket. If you have a look at the way, for example, Narayan, who's not even picked for the West Indies, which seems ridiculous, but he can make impact, down at 16. The way that Hassan Ali can do the same. He strikes the ball differently to people. with great power, and it's an extremely important role that you have those dynamic hitters that can come through between the 15th and the 20th over and do damage, like a Narayan can, like a Kyron Pollard can, like a Hayden can, for example, who's got power and energy through their hands that are an important asset to this game. So underrated is probably too strong a word, but certainly used with wisdom and combined with the opportunity that the game provides. Power hitting and power hitters are a key asset to any side, and every side has one or two. Australia has Maxwell. India has Hardik Pandya. South Africa has the boy that played last night, great power hitter. They all have that strong presence in a power hitting asset, but batsmanship still wins. It's still average play and average scores and targets need to be set accordingly.
Last two questions, Abbas Reza and Abu Bakr.
Hello, Hayden.
Hi, Abbas.
My question is, if there is an opportunity to play Fakhr Zaman at the top of the order and utilize his present form,
Is there an opportunity?
can we utilize Fakhr Zaman at the top of the order as an opener?
Oh, look, clearly I will have inputs into through coach as to how I sense the game, but that's a selection issue really. And the answer to your question is yes. Fakhr can play anywhere in those top four positions because he commands that performance. I think he's played, you know, in the 2 games that he's played here in the UAE, he has performed very solid. His strike rate for his 40 in the first game was 180. Last night it was where typically it's 130 odd. Last night it was also above 160. He's playing very nicely, but he's also playing smart as well. I quite like him inside that as that number 3, that sheet anchor role, because of his way that he's got this great ability to be able to assess the conditions quite quickly, but then he can advance the game based on that partnership with Rizwan and Bubba. So personally, I like him at number 3.
Thank you. Abu Bakr, last question, please.
Hello, Eden. We all know that you have a short assignment with Pakistan team, but what do you think? What one thing you gonna put in the Pakistani player for this cup?
I'd like a World Cup. That'd be one thing that'd be nice, wouldn't it? I think calmness is maybe something that, and maybe you have your own impressions on that as well. Like as a player, you would have seen the way that I went about playing the game, but you know, I think just generally a sense of calmness and of control and of remaining very present in play. Because World Cups are, you know, they're such a challenging thing, and playing multiple World Cups, it's been such an important part of, you know, my life. And one of the things that I've learned is that for whatever reason, you're always under pressure. So you don't need to create, you know, pressure environments additional to what the game demands. So it will be just to remain calm. I think that'll be the one thing.
Thank you so much, Coach. Thank you, everyone. Coach has a meeting after this. Thank you so much for your.
Bye for everyone.